Today is the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, the attack on Pearl Harbor is truly a misnomer because there were some like 8 or 9 installations on Oahu that was attacked as well. Kaneohe, the base that I was on, was the Naval Air Station. Bellows Air Corps, they didn't have the Air Force at that time, the Air Corps, in which our lovely secretary's father was a member of that Air Corps. Higginfield, Schofield Barracks, Ewa Marine Air Station, and a number of other bases throughout the island of Oahu were all attacked. During that day, a fleet of some 33 vessels left Tokyo on November 25th, 1941. Oddly enough, I left San Diego about the same time, bound for Hawaiian Islands. And if you can imagine a 17-year-old boy, and that's what my age at that time was, 17 years and 5 months, going to Hawaii, living in Santa Cruz, California, near the ocean, loving the water, and loving the water sports and fishing, and all of the things connected with the water. Going to Hawaii was a dream that was coming true. I arrived in Pearl Harbor on the 4th of December. On the 5th of December, they shipped me out to Kaneohe Naval Air Station. Kaneohe Naval Air Station right now is a Marine Air Station in which they house a P-3 patrol bomber. But at that time, in 1941, the patrol plane that they had was a PBY, and a PBY is an amphibious aircraft with 2 engines mounted high on the wing. A beautiful aircraft, but very, very slow. But at any rate, I was assigned to a squadron at Kaneohe on the 5th, which was a Friday. On the 6th, as a Saturday, my friend and I were exploring the base at Kaneohe, looking at airplanes, and that was another love of my life. I later became a pilot after I got out of the service. But I still love to be around airplanes, and this is one of my dreams also coming true. We were walking on the ramp of this huge base, but all it housed was the PBYs, which was a water-based aircraft, landed on water, or it could land on land, but we did not have any runway at that base at that time. We do have now. They would land in the water, either tie up at a buoy in the water, or they would come up a ramp and into the tarmac or into a hangar. There were planes in the hangar, there were planes on the tarmac, and there were planes in the harbor moved to a buoy. My friend and I were walking along on the 6th, admiring the aircraft. That night we went to a movie. The next morning we had breakfast and church, and was out exploring further on the island, on this air base. We were walking in a field from the edge of the tarmac, and the field was about maybe 200 yards. We were about in the middle of the field when we heard a great big explosion. Turned around and looked to see what was happening. Didn't see anything. We heard some planes, and we thought, well, this is another exercise by the Navy. The Navy wasn't too far away. Kaneohe by air was only about 12 miles, and by road, and at that time they didn't have roads through the valley like they have now. But it took a good 45 minutes to go from Pearl Harbor to Canada. Now it takes about 15 minutes. We heard the explosions and we saw one of our planes blowing up in the water. And if you can imagine the reaction of a 17-year-old boy looking at that burning aircraft and seeing planes flying around, not knowing exactly what they were and who they were. They had a red circle, red spot on the fuselage, which indicated to me that this was not an American aircraft, because our American aircraft had a star, a white star on it. We saw this plane explode, and we saw a plane in the bay, BBY. We saw other planes being attacked. We saw pilots diving at different spots in the hangars, different spots and the pens that were moored, and different planes that were tied down on the land. Needless to say, we were both frightened. We didn't know exactly which way to turn, so we ran back as fast as we could to where somebody looked to be in charge. No one seemed to be in charge. Everyone was doing their thing as best they could. Finally, we found where the armory was, and they issued us 2 rifles. This was a 30-06, which is an old World War II rifle, 30 caliber, and trying to get a plane going 170, 190 miles an hour with a rifle is almost impossible. So that attack lasted about 30 minutes. The second attack came about 15 minutes later, and we got upgraded our armament to a Lewis machine gun. I can go on and on with this story, but in essence, I think the main objective was the fact that we were under attack. We changed from being boys, and he was about the same age, my friend was about the same age as I was. We changed from being boys to fighting machines. And we started fighting back. We feared that an invasion was coming, and the talk was that an invasion was pending. We took our machine gun along with about 6 or 8 other sailors and developed just a nest in the fields surrounding this base, and there must have been about 8 or 9 different nests waiting for the invasion. The Japanese had no intention of invading Oahu, which we found out later. They came to destroy the fleet, which they did, and they did that very adequately. The fleet at Pearl Harbor consisted of 8 battleships. All but 2 were refitted and reconditioned and sailed again. Japanese made 3 mistakes on that day. The first mistake was they didn't do anything to the dry docks. The dry docks were intact. And if the dry docks had been destroyed, that means these battleships and other ships, the cruisers and the destroyers and the ships that were destroyed or damaged, had to go all the way back to San Diego, San Francisco, towed back, and then refitted there and back to service. The dry docks were the key bombing point which they missed. In Oahu, near Hickam Field, there is about 6 or 9 storage tanks, great big white, as far as you can see, storage tanks full of fuel. They missed that. And the third mistake was they attacked on a Sunday. A lot of the personnel on all these bases were somewhere else other than the base that they were supposed to be on. They were in town Some were married, they were with their family in the town of Honolulu. Today marks the 70th anniversary. They are doing a number of things in Oahu right now, in Pearl Harbor. But as I mentioned earlier, there are 8 other installations. I just got back from Pearl Harbor on the 30th of this last month. Last April, or earlier than that, March perhaps, I received a telephone call from a director of a band group in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. They wanted a survivor to go with the band to Pearl Harbor as a token Pearl Harbor survivor, and they do this once every 3 or 4 years. The name of this band was the Burlington Teen Tour Band, and their primary mission is just to tour different parts of the world. This band has been in Hawaii in 1999 and again in 1993 or 4. It has been to Europe. It has been to different states or different cities in the United States: Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco. It has been to Japan. It is a touring band. In Canada, they don't really have high school bands like we have high school bands in the States. They have what they call district bands in the different provinces. And this band was a huge band. It was something like 200 members in the band. And they have sponsorships, committees, and their objective is to raise funds for these trips for the band. And this is one of the trips that the band took, and they invited me. I had an opportunity to go back on the 3rd of December to take part in the ceremony. And I thought maybe I could do 2 trips in 1 month. But back and forth takes at least 15 hours one way. I just felt huge trip, so I just felt that I wasn't capable enough to go back again, so I avoided the trip back to Pearl Harbor. But this trip that I took with the Burlington Band, I think was one of the most outstanding things that have ever happened in my life. They showed a lot of respect, not only for the band, but for then there were several Pearl Harbor survivors as part of each band. There were 16 bands altogether, and 15 was from the United States and 1 from Canada. And each of these bands had a Pearl Harbor survivor with them. There was a huge parade on the streets of Waikiki, and which was tremendous. So respect, a lot of courtesy, and we just felt that we were part of that band, part of the crowd that was cheering for us. It was one of the most thrilling experiences that I've ever had. I can go on and on, but Chuck told me to keep it short, so relatively short. My experiences in the Navy lasted until 1945, when I was discharged in August of 1945. And as Chuck mentioned, I did go back to school when I was discharged, and I majored in journalism first, and then I switched over to education and finished my education at San Francisco University and became a teacher, principal in the overseas dependent school system. Stayed with them for 18 years. I love that very much. I know you probably have some questions that you may want to ask me, and I'll be more than happy to answer these questions probably after the service. Okay, thank you very much.